cut to the chase. Everyone give me some space. Don't fall out, we fall into place. Every step walking with grace, amen. Keeping my foot off the brakes. Impact, I'm ready to brace. We fall down and land on our face, just to get up and finally escape. Wait, boom, boom. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. They live through the story they made, okay? Boom, boom. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. Hey, legends don't die anyway. I was working on a play today. Body bags covered away. I paved, zipped up like a bathing ape. How many of us then came and stayed? Not too many. I've been staying awake to get it and get right on every mistake. I give them a bite, they taking a plate. It's all been a feeling that I couldn't shake. So I just keep killing till I'm at the gates. We straight, we treat them like worms in a lake. They bake, just give me a drum and a bass. I skate and grind till I'm numb in the face, okay? Don't fuck up my day. Don't talk about clutch, I got ice in my veins. I'm colder than Trey, I stick to the code. I'm glitching the game. I do anything for the win at the end of the day. I gotta cut to the chase. Everyone give me some space. Don't fall out, we fall into place. Every step walking with grace, amen. Keeping my foot off the brakes. Impact, I'm ready to brace. We fall down and land on our face, just to get up and finally escape. Wait, boom, boom. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. They live through the story they made, okay? Boom, boom. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. Legends don't die anyways. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. They live through the story they made, okay? Boom, boom. Baby, I'm trying to get paid. Legends don't die in a grave. Legends don't die anywhere.
Leave it to the WNBA players to send every raging boner on the internet in a hot take mood. But the one thing that leaves their argument a little flaccid, I'll tell you what it is. President Trump recently signed an executive order to cap NIL expenses at $500,000. Is this a reality or is it all smoke and mirrors? And Colin Cowherd says that the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC. We'll tell you where he's right and where he's wrong in his statement. That's all coming up. It's On the Marks with Jason Marks. And welcome into episode 2 of On the Marks. I am Jason Marks. Glad you were on with us. You were on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We finally got that going here, so very excited for today's episode because we've got a lot to get into. So if you're watching for the first time, thank you very much for tuning in and giving me the opportunity. We talk college football, we talk all sports here on this show, and we're in the second voyage of this endeavor. And we're going to start it off with an interesting topic, and one that I'm just very fascinated with. Very fascinated with. And I will say this at first, that I am not really the avid fan of the WNBA. I'm glad that it's getting a lot more run than it has in the past. I'm not going to be one of these people that are just going to crap on something that apparently is gaining popularity and people actually enjoy. If you're a parent that has a daughter that's involved in sports, they're probably watching Caitlin Clark, they're watching Angel Reese, and you probably have a little bit invested in that just from that. To tell you the truth, when it comes to the entertainment totem pole, as sports and entertainment, the WNBA is pretty low. But I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to sit here and totally crap on it, because it has gained popularity, and this younger class, this younger generations of stars that have popped up have helped in that matter. But I did happen to tune in a little bit to the WNBA All-Star Game this weekend when I was sitting on my couch, and I had saw that they came out in the warm-up shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us." So at first I was sitting here and go, okay, what the hell is this all about? So rather than, do my car selfie rage post like some people did, I did a little search on Google and it's like, okay, pay us what you owe us. What does this all mean? Boom, something pops up. They're in the midst of a renegotiation of their collective bargaining agreement. So I'm like, okay, now I'm even more intrigued. Because the narrative, and you've probably seen all of them on TikTok, on social media, whatever platform that you follow. And the first thing that's usually said is, well, the WNBA has never made a profit in its existence since 1996, which I find to be surprising because in my era, it was Candace Parker, it was Cheryl Swoops that were the big stars. Rebecca Lobo could have been another one too. And then you add in Diana Taurasi. And it never really gained any traction. Maybe it was just the times that we were in. Because we're going 90s, 2000s, and 2010. Like early 2010s. So it wasn't getting a lot of traction. And of course, the WNBA is subsidized by the NBA. It's never made a profit. It's usually a money loser, and there's the reports out that they're going to lose $50 million this year. At least the NBA are going to lose $50 million from the WNBA. So the first thing that people go out and say is, oh, you're asking for a raise, but you don't make a profit. That sounds kind of stupid. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Well, again, with this phone, simple Google search, and it was WNBA collective bargaining agreement. And what I found out was very interesting. The WNBA has risen in popularity. I'm not going to say to the level of the NFL or anything like that. Let's not be silly. But popularity has grown. Ticket sales have increased. Merchandise sales have increased. But the media rights deal that the WNBA is under right now, this season, which probably is part of the $40 to $50 million that they've lost, is not going to be the same one heading into next season. because the WNBA racked up a $2.2 billion media rights deal over 11 years. So that is $200 million that the WNBA is about to get in revenue just on media rights alone. That is a big difference from the $45 million that they have been getting in this deal that's about to run out. So when you factor in that, and then also factor in that there's about to be expansion teams coming into the league, and you want to know how much their fee is? $250 million. And there's 3 of them, and I believe it's Philadelphia, Detroit. I can't remember the other city off the top of my head. But that's $750 million in the next couple of years that this league is going to get. And if you look at the max contracts and the rookie contracts and the minimums that they're getting, it's at a range of anywhere from $70,000 to $250,000 a year just for the Supermax, or the max contract, which what the NBA has. And the misunderstanding for some people is when you see pay us what you owe us, they're thinking, oh, they should be paid the same as men. Let's not be silly. That's not reality. That's not going to happen. And I don't think that they are going to happen. And don't fall for the deep fake of Angel Reese quote that was saying that they should be paid as much as men. That never happened. So rather than chastising, and again, I can probably count on one hand how many WNBA games I've watched probably in the last couple of years. So this is not me being a WNBA advocate. It is me being a champion of true capitalism. Not this bullshit that we have right now. True capitalism. Where if the entity that you work for is bringing in more money, you'd like to get a little piece of that action too. In the NBA, the players and the owners have a 50-50 revenue share split. The WNBA right now is 9%. So I can't fault them for wanting a little bit more money heading into the new collective bargaining agreement, and especially when you have this infusion of cash that's about to come in. But that's not what some people want to tell you because it kills their stupid little narratives. Because from every social media post I saw of chastising the players for wearing the t-shirts, which, by the way, the t-shirts have been effective before. Remember Vote Warnock back a couple of years ago when Kelly Loeffler, the most useless U.S. senator in Georgia history, penned her letter against woke culture with the WNBA commissioner, which eventually led to the players supporting her opponent, and then she got her ass kicked, and then she got her ass sent out of the Atlanta Dream ownership. So let's not sit here and say that the t-shirts are not going to work. They have before. But now the question is, where's the sweet spot? What is it that the WNBA owes the players? And it's very tricky because you don't want to have too much of this new money that's going to be coming in to be ate up by operating costs. That's business 101. But you also don't want to be a cheap ass about it. So if we looked at max contracts, which I looked and it was like $250,000. The minimums are around like 72, and Caitlin Clark's rookie contract is like 76, 78,000 a year, which probably some of you who are watching this program right now probably make more than that. So where is the sweet spot when it comes to the minimum contracts, the max contracts, rookie contracts? I understand that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark make an absurd amount of money on endorsement deals, and as they should. But not every player is going to be able to have that luxury. Not every one of them is going to be able to go out and get $1 million endorsement deal with State Farm or McDonald's, so on and so forth. Not every one of them is going to get that. And some of them go overseas to supplement their income. So if you've fallen for this narrative of they're asking for a raise when it's not deserved, actually it is. Because how much of the recent popularity of the WNBA has led to the media rights deal going from $45 million a year to $200 million? Somebody's a damn good negotiator, but the popularity, and you could say Caitlin Clark played a big part in it. There's no disputing that. That her popularity and her ability to cross over has benefited the entire league. There's no denying that. No denying that whatsoever. And for the NBA and the WNBA, the players and the owners, it's imperative that they get the deal done. And they have until October to do it. So it's not like it's a rush or anything like that, but apparently the sides are very far apart right now. How much would this help? Time will tell. But I think that something will get done. And why do I say that? Because if there's a lockout, yeah, sure, they're not going to, the WNBA is not going to lose $40 to $50 million for the NBA like it did this past season. But they're not going to get that $200 million in media rights if there's no games being played, no games being televised. I think the players know that, and I think the owners know that. But what would be acceptable as far as for the players and what they get? Beyond that 9% in revenue share, which probably is the big linchpin that the players are honing in on. I would. Personally, I would. Would the minimum salaries go up to $150K? And even if that happens, that's a win. It may not be what they entirely wanted, entirely what they think they're worth, but that's a big win. A big win if they're able to get it. And the super maxes go anywhere from 500,000. I wouldn't go. $1 million might be a stretch, but to get the max contracts to about $500K, then I think that everybody wins. And this generation of talent that comes through and they continue to build on what they've already built on, then when the next collective bargaining agreement comes around, they may be able to get more. But doubling the salary and everything like that would be a huge win. That's life-changing money for a lot of people. So for anybody out there that's still hemming and hawing about women basketball players asking for more money, you just tell them, well, they're about to get $200 million in media rights, and they may not be losing money for the league much longer, which is why they're opting out. They opted out of their previous collective bargaining agreement and want to renegotiate a new one, because who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? And especially with the popularity of the league now, why not strike when the iron is hot? I can't fault them at all. And I think that they're going to get more money. And speaking of money, moving over to college football, President Trump, he's been a busy man the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? Anywhere from putting cane sugar back in Coca-Cola to demanding the Cleveland Guardians and Washington Commanders change back to their old names, to even signing an executive order in regards to NIL in college football. And again, I like to say that I am a true capitalist. I believe that if you earn it, you should get it. And with as much as we demand the guardrails in college football when it comes to the NIL and transfer portal, because it is practically the wild, wild west. And from some of the articles that I have read in regards to this executive order, there's very little that's out about it. Like, not even the conference commissioners, they were caught off guard on. If you read some of the articles, they were caught off guard by this executive order. I read somewhere where they're talking about upending the recent House settlement, which gives $20 million in revenue sharing between the players and the universities, that they're going to upend that, which again, the House settlement has raised about more questions than it answered any of them. But the interesting thing that I saw is that this executive order was seeking to put a cap on earnings in name, image, and likeness. Now, if we're in the spirit of name, image, and likeness, that is, you are able to sell yourself as a brand. You are selling your name, your image, and your likeness for endorsement deals, for video games, for so on. So the use of your name, the use of your brand, which should be the spirit of it. Which, of course, with NIL collectives happening and all that good stuff, it kind of muddied the waters and made it more crazy than it probably should have been. But when I see you're going to put a cap of $500,000 on NIL, the questions that I ask is that overall for one player? Is that overall for one team? Willie the Third, thank you for the likes on the TikTok video. Because if I look at players like a Carson Beck, like a Ryan Williams in Alabama, potentially Bryce Underwood at Michigan, with all the hype surrounding him. Because when you think of name, image, and likeness, you can also look to social media, what you're on right now. Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, so on and so forth. Anyone is able to monetize their brand. And especially with some that have the following, like a Ryan Williams, like a Bryce Underwood, and these big name college players. If they make all of this money off of their social media, but they have other endorsement deals and the likes, but they go over that cap, what do they do? What happens with the money? We're not putting a cap on administrative pay, athletic director pay. We're not putting a cap on head coaching pay, which at points contracts were just absolutely absurd. Jimbo Fisher's at Texas A&M, and then we saw what happened with that. There's no cap No cap on that. But why is it the president's just trying to mess with kids? Putting a cap on them. Which makes me leery of this even goes anywhere, because it just seems like a non-starter to me. When you're going to put a cap on what players can make off of their own brand, that is a non-starter. Is it to get control? There needs to be some kind of control. There needs to be some kind of regulations. But I don't know how the hell to get there. And I don't think many people do either. But if we're going to put a cap on players and not head coaching salaries and all that, that seems a little bit unfair to me. Because you could see players that have the potential. They could make, they're already making millions of dollars in NIL. And it's crazy. Again, true capitalist that I am, I see this as like the players getting shafted. Carson Beck can only make $500,000 when he got what, $4 million at Miami on that deal. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to put the guardrails up. I still have a lot of questions that need to be answered when it comes to navigating this new landscape of college football. But this ain't it. This isn't it at all. And it seems maybe a lot of smoking mirrors to me. Thank you, Hestro, for the like on TikTok, and thank you for everyone who has been watching this program. Make sure that you follow me on TikTok, on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook, all at On The Marks Media. I made it very simple for you. Now, speaking of college football, Colin Cowherd ruffled some feathers over the weekend. And if I get the opportunity, I was going to try to pull the clip up, but my Streamlabs crapped out on me by the time that we were going to go live. But Colin Cowherd has already declared that the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC, which raises your eyebrows. And you're saying, like, how did he come to that conclusion? Well, the main thing that he has said is money. The money in the Big Ten has gotten bigger, more lucrative. When you add Phil Knight at Oregon now in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, some of the richest schools in the country, and also the biggest spenders. I think On3 had an article out talking about the big spenders in college football, and 4 out of 8 of them were in the Big Ten. Now, do I think that me personally, that the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC? I'm not ready to go there. Do I think that there is potential for the Big Ten to surpass the SEC in this unchecked landscape of college football, at least for right now? Yes, I think that there is potential. I'm also thinking that the Big Ten not has surpassed, but they are closing the gap. And why do I say that? Because if you look at the SEC right now, and the thing that happened recently in the last couple of years is the man who had the stranglehold on the entire conference since 2009 recently retired. And I said years ago when I was on radio that when Nick Saban retired, there was going to be an epic power vacuum within the SEC. Now, during that time, I never anticipated that Texas and Oklahoma would be a part of the conference when that happened. But here we are. Georgia and Kirby Smart right now are hanging on to dear life of their supremacy when it comes to the SEC. They're hanging on for dear life because Texas is on the uphill. Texas is rising. And some would say they could be preseason number 1 heading into this season. Florida could be on the rise if DJ Lagway is as good as advertised for a full season. We saw a little sample of him last season. With the full season coming in and some of the recruits that Billy Napier has brought in, they could be on the rise. Oklahoma got their quarterback in John Mateer, transfer out of Washington State. They play a psychotic schedule, but a new offensive coordinator, some weapons coming in, they'll be an interesting team to watch. Ole Miss, new quarterback with Austin Simmons, just on the cusp of the playoff last season. There is a power vacuum in the SEC right now, battling for supremacy. And using Colin Cowherd's logic of money giving the advantage to the Big Ten, well, in that list of the 8 biggest spenders, the 2 SEC teams were out of Texas. Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies. And Texas A&M had done decent on the recruiting trail in the last couple of years. They went out, went all in with some money. Didn't work out. That's why Jimbo was fired. But that benefits Texas. And that's why I think Texas, it would not surprise me if eventually they got a stranglehold on the SEC. Because the money is there. And if you look at, and he also mentioned TV markets between the Big Ten and the SEC, where the Big Ten has some of the largest markets in the country. New York, Rutgers, Los Angeles, USC, UCLA, Chicago, Northwestern Illinois. I think that the potential is there. But when will it materialize? This season will be the one to watch in regards to the Big Ten. You have your usual suspects. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon. Those are going to be the surefire contenders that you know are going to be Big Ten title contenders, and they're going to be playoff contenders. You know those 4 for a fact. But then you watch the other ones. You look at Illinois. You look at USC if they are able to finally make the jump. You look at all these other teams in the Big Ten, and those are going to be the ones to watch to see if they make that jump to where they're due to that level or closer to it. That right there will give you a good idea of if the Big Ten is closing the gap even further on the SEC. Because I think once the SEC figures out this power vacuum, then it's going to be full speed ahead. That's what's slowing the SEC down right now. A little bit of cannibalism, a little bit of a power vacuum battle. That's what's slowing them down, and that's why the Big Ten has been catching up. Cowherd also mentioned about Ohio State and Michigan winning the last 2 national championships, and it reminds him of the run, or the beginning of the run that the SEC had for 8 years. Not ready to go there yet. But I would not totally dismiss his theory that money could cause a seismic shift, which it already has in a way. But right now we're seeing the sample size. We haven't seen it really fully entrenched just yet. But the Big Ten could be catching up a little bit. When they get caught up to the SEC, that's to be determined. One team that I mentioned, I was going to talk about them, and I teased it a little bit. If there are any Iowa fans that are watching right now, I want to have a conversation with you, a genuine conversation with you, about if you believe that the University of Iowa is taking football serious. And I say that because Kirk Ferentz had a contract extension a couple of years ago that extended his deal all the way to 2029. And he's lived off the Big Ten West and a couple of division championships there. But he doesn't have that luxury anymore. The offense has been stagnant. And my question to Iowa fans, are you happy with 9-4 going to a bowl game every once in a while contending for the Big Ten title? Because I see a lot of potential in Iowa. And if they could get someone that could navigate, and kudos to Iowa, because I think since 1978, they've had two head coaches. Hayden Fry until 1999, and then Kirk Ferentz took over. But are you happy with just contending enough? What was your expectations? Are you wanting to be a national title contender? Because you go back before the 2000s when Phil Knight started pouring money into the Oregon program, Oregon wasn't really talked about as a serious college football program. And here we are 25 years later. Now they're in the upper echelon of the Big Ten. And I think that there could be potential there for Iowa too. But it comes down to how serious are they about it? Once the era of Kirk Ferentz comes and goes, or really we're closer to go than we are to when he came. What's the next chapter? And what do you expect? Hestro, back on the NIL topic. The thoughts about Shamar Stewart leaving the Cincinnati Bengals. Interesting. It's interesting for the fact that we've never really seen a college football player or a NFL draft pick go back to college. Now, I know that there were like deadlines that you would have to meet. And obviously, I would think that this would be battled out in court, or there would be some kind of litigation that goes on with it. But, I mean, if it was maybe the New York Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars, I might understand it a little bit. But this one's kind of head-scratching to me. Because it's not like the Bengals are a terrible franchise. They did just go to a Super Bowl not too long ago. But maybe he feels he could milk one more year of NIL in college, come back, work out his rookie contract. That could be the motive. Because NIL is a lot more lucrative than it is for some rookie contracts in the NFL. If they want them to be. But that's an that was an intriguing one. And is this going to be the catalyst for maybe other instances like this down the road? Because this is the very first one. The very first one that we have to watch play out. And I'm sure that there are maybe some other athletes that see this, that may consider this strategy down the road. They could use this as kind of a barometer of maybe how to approach it if they get into that situation. Do you feel more NIL athletes will do this if they don't like their NFL contracts? It's possible. But what boggles me is the fact that you have, because you have a deadline. I know in the NBA you have a deadline to pull out of the NBA draft to go back into college. Now things may have changed because some have been a little bit more lenient now about, okay, going through the draft, and if things don't work out, then you can go back to college. But the fact that he had already been drafted, now I don't know if he had been attending any practices or not for the Bengals, which could complicate things. But would it surprise me if it happened? No. It wouldn't. I'm at the point now that nothing surprises me anymore. At all. Nothing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the program. We hope you enjoyed it. If you missed anything, I will have clips up on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch. If you missed anything, give you a nice little recap of the show. But episode 2 in the books. Episode 3 will be next week at this same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Thank you for all the gifts on TikTok, and thank you for everyone who is watching this evening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the